I often feel that new card games are overlooked in favor of board games because board games have a more immediate graphic appeal, where you can put the game board on the table, have all the components on it, making a diorama that you can often look at and get the story of what you're doing just by seeing how the components are interacting with whatever the graphics are on the board. Whereas with card games, you have people holding cards or cards on a table. And that's pretty much it. And there's not much to go on. Sometimes you don't even see the graphics well because they're scattered all over the table, and the table is just overwhelming everything. But card games are also overlooked because they are tiny, much smaller than board games, and easy to overlook when you're just scanning to see what to play. Pixies is one example of this. It's a card game by Johannes Scoopy and French publisher Bombix. Came out in early 2024. It's a 2 to 4 player game that follows the model of Sea Salt and Paper, an earlier release by Bombix, where you have a tiny box, rules, and cards that fit the box. That's it. Very much a pocket design, something to go in a stocking in the holiday season. Super tiny, but doesn't tell you anything about how it plays, so let me do that. Pixies lasts 3 rounds, and in each round you build a 3x3 display of cards in front of you. You are going to draft a card from what's available on a turn. You reveal as many cards as there are players. Each player will draft one of them, and whoever takes the final pick will start the next turn. Why you might want to draft cards? Well, we'll talk about that. You're going to put them in a display, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if I take a 2, it's going in the 2 spot, and 1 in the 1 spot, and so on. You're trying to make large groups of color, and you're trying to score points. Each swirl on a card is worth 1 point, so this is worth 6 points on its own. This is negative 6 points, which is not great. Why would you want this card? Well, you may have to take it because you're last, but it's not necessarily bad. This card is all 4 colors, whereas these are blue, this is red, so this will match anything that you put next to it. If I want to start, maybe I want to leave my options open and take the 2. Okay. There are numbers in the bottom right corner of the card that tell you how many copies there are of each particular number. So there's 5 1s and 5 9s and 6 2s and 8s and so on up to 12 5s. Each other player is going to take a card. We turn over the next batch. I would choose second, so we'll just say this is what I have available. Okay, if I take the 3, it comes with 2 points. It's a green card. I place it next to here, and now I have 2 green cards next to one another. Someone else takes those. We turn over the next cards. Okay, 2 cards will be gone when it's my turn. Let's say people don't want to leave me good choices. Well, that's still a good choice. I'll take this. -5, -4. I'm going to look to the person to my right to see what they might want. And so I'll end up with something like this. Here, I'll get the final choice of what's available. I'll just pretend I have no choice, and I get this. Now, when you take a number that you already have, you validate that number. You are going to score as many points as the number on the card. So this is -5, this is -3. How you validate is you decide which one will be face up and which is face down. And since this is -3, I'll take this. I'm not collecting blue or yellow at the moment, so it doesn't matter about matching the colors. That may affect my choice, but here's what I have. I now choose first in this round. And what do I want to do? So if I take a 6, it's not going to match in color. You can't always help that, but you hope to. A 9 would be great, 9 points, if I were able to validate it. But if you recall, we already had 2 9s pass on the very first flip. There's only 5 in the game. What are the chances that I will validate this card? It might only be worth -2 at the end of play. So let's choose this. I can validate the 2. Here it's worth 5 points. Here it's a green that matches. Let's go with the 5 points. Okay, put that away. I'll have 1 choice out of 3. On the next round, there's the fourth 9. If I had taken that 9, I could have validated 9 and gotten those points, but wasn't to be. Now, if I take a 2, I've already validated the 2. You can have at most 2 cards in each slot. So if I take the 2, I flip it face down and put it on any empty space. Why you would want to do that is that I increase my chances of validating an 8 if I put it in this slot. I probably don't want to put it in the 9s because there's literally only one 9 left. So I could do that. I could validate the 3, and since I'm giving up on green, maybe I just go with this 3. Put those away. I'm going to get my choice of 2 here. All right, we'll go with this, which is 5 points. I get my choice of 1. I get a 7, and I've already validated 7s. Let's put this here. Or let's put this here to try to make a connection. Now I'm going to get first choice. Hopefully I can explain what I mean by that. Oh, this worked out perfectly. So I'll do here, and I've got 2 blue together, and they're both validated. I'm going to score 11, 16 points just from validations at the end of the round. And in addition, in the first round, for each card you have in your largest color group that's connected, you score 2 points. So I get an additional 4 points by having these. If I were able to get this later, now I'm getting 6 points. Actually, this doesn't even have to be validated. If I have a blue here, this is 6 points. So the swirls score, the X's score negatively, and the color scores whether or not you validate the cards, but you get the face value of the card if you do validate it. So again, I have my choice of 3. On the next time, this doesn't do much for me. The 4 would have to go face down. It doesn't hurt to have a face down card, but I don't get anything. But I also don't get anything from this. So let's say I take this away from someone else. I have a choice of 2. None of them matter. I have a choice of 1. I got to put this face down as well. The round ends as soon as someone has all their slots filled, whether face down or face up. So I possibly will have the round end here. This is now my first choice. Clearly I'm going to take this, so I get 8 points. The 7 does nothing. The 5 would let me validate the 5. And then I would have red connection. So if I validate this, well, now I'm already scoring 4 from blue, but it gives me another choice in case I think the round will continue. This gives me 1 point per red card that I have, so it's an additional 2 points. So it's 7 points on its own versus 8 points going with this. I'm going to look at the people to my right, see what they're doing, see which one I can take that would help them less based on what they're collecting. And in addition, if I'm trying to make another connection, I don't want the round to end. So you might take a card that keeps someone else from forcing the round to end, if possible. Okay. So let's say now I get a choice down to 3 choices. And now this is validated, this is validated. I have to take something, and we end the round. Other people take stuff as well. Not going to worry about them. But I will score 21 points for validated cards, because these all have something underneath it. In addition, 15 more, 36, 37. I lose 3 is 34. I score 2 more for 2 red cards, 36. And I get 4 points for having 2 cards. 4 more points, 40 points total. That's the round. And the other rounds will be played the same way. Nothing changes from one round to the next, which is true for many such card games, except that you will now score 3 points for each card in a color grouping. And the third round, you score 4 points. So That's the only difference from round to round, but of course, you get the variety of how cards come up and how they're going to, what other people are going to take and what you're trying to get. What's the good opportunity that you can come across with what's revealed to you. I played Pixies 3 times on a review copy from Bombix, once each with 2, 3, and 4 players, and the only rule change based on the player count is the number of cards revealed at the start of the turn. In a 4-player game, 4. In a 3-player game, 3. And in a 2-player game, 4. Because we are each going to pick 2 cards. I pick, you pick, I pick, you pick, and then we reverse the order for the next turn. And it's nice to have more cards available so that you don't have only 2 and you have no idea what's coming next, but I pick something and I know I'm getting one of those 3 cards that are left behind. And the second player does the same. They're getting one of the remaining 2, and so that can affect your choice. You got a little more information to go on. The turn order with 3 and 4 players, it's nice that you get to go first after going last, because in a normal clockwise rotation of turn order, I would go last, and then second to last, and then second, and then first in a 4-player game. And then I have to wait a long time before I pick again. But instead of that, you get to pick last and then first. You're forced to take something you have no choice over, and then you get the best choice of whatever is available. So it feels good to have that balance together. You do get to affect what other players have available to them because it's an open draft. You see everything available. You know what they're collecting. You're sometimes playing the odds on what numbers are going to come up. If you can track all of that, most people in the games that I've played, we've only tracked 9s because there's only 5 of them. They're highly valuable if you do validate them, so you are keeping track of them very closely. You can track more if you want, but we have not done so. But you do get to affect what other people have available to them. You get to steal colors from them, you steal numbers from them, or you force them to take something that does nothing for them. Because if they have a choice and all those numbers are already validated, they must turn it face down and fill an empty space. So you just wasted their time. Yes, they could validate that in the future if they draft that number. They can't take that face down card and put it under something else to validate it. It has to go in an empty space, and then maybe they put something on top of it later. So that's it. But otherwise, nothing. And it feels good to leave someone with nothing. And then they feel good when they validate it later. So you have all the luck and chance elements of a card game. You don't know what's coming. You play the odds on what's available to you and what you might get. It's a nice design that works well with the nature of a card game and the randomness that comes with it, because you have what's available to you now. You know what could potentially come in the future, and so you're playing off of that constantly. The games haven't feel that differentiated between the 3 times that I've played, each with 3 rounds, so 9 rounds total across all of that. The boards don't change that much from one round to the next. The only slight difference is the rule change in which you score 2 points per card in the color block in the first round, and then 3 points, and then 4 points. So you pay attention a little bit more to color in that final round. There's no change otherwise, but it kind of heightens the tension over what to get, because you take that card now, it's additional 4 points for matching that color, regardless of whether you validate it or not, or you could take something that will be validated and then hope for that color later. Sometimes it all comes together and you get perfect board, everything validated, it's all nice green all the way across it, or the 4 color cards that match anything. Sometimes it does, but often it doesn't, because the more that other people pay attention and are mean, the more that they will give you poor choices. So there you go. It's very straightforward, right? The idea of the clever card game, well, ideally all card games are clever because you want to have a challenge with them. Want them to be something interesting to do with the choices available to you. This works wonderfully in a super tiny box. It's kind of neat. I've talked with Jan at Bombix about doing this, and it's very much just you want the smallest thing possible. And no, you can't sleeve the cards. They will not fit, I'm pretty sure, because there is almost no room available. But also, it's like a €10 game, so how often are you going to play it? You're not handling these cards all the time and getting them messed up. You flip them over and you put them in a grid and you don't touch them again. So you're not handling them that much. You don't necessarily need sleeves. It works perfectly just to have this tiny thing that would go in a coat pocket or purse or handbag or whatever, a stocking, the holiday season. It's nice and tiny, right? People talk about wanting small games, no wasted space. And so here they do it. And then some people will say, there's no room for sleeves. So there's no pleasing everyone with that idea of how you're going to package a game. It didn't talk about the colors. I showed that there's 4 colors in the game. It's the same thing they did in Sea Salt and Paper. They're using this color add system where it has symbols on all the cards. It's a neat concept that I had not seen widely other than Bombix so far. I saw it in one other publisher's games. I can't remember who at the moment. So you've got red being this triangle and blue being a triangle going the other way. And if you had purple cards, it would have these 2 triangles in the same square. So even if you're colorblind, you're looking here to see. And of course, there's no, sure, the card is in general blue, but if you don't see that, you can go with the symbol at the bottom. Just like if you have, I've flipped over all the cards and they're going the wrong way. There you go. Get a 4-color card and see it. So we got yellow being this line, diagonal line across it, and green is a combination of the yellow and blue, the line with the triangle. It's a very cool concept just to simply do this. Obviously, it doesn't work with every component. If you have a dice game where you have different colored dice, it's much easier just to make dice in a color and use the standard pips or numbers or whatever. But if you're going to embed the symbol, that's going to take a little more work. Probably get there in time, but not anytime soon. And that was my color diversion while talking about Pixies. Often I'm looking at all these games and trying to imagine how they're putting the game on the market and what they're trying to do and how they're trying to satisfy the audience that's available and how they're hitting all these different elements. You can't do everything, but you can definitely have your target audience in mind for what you're trying to do. And so that's what I think Bombix is doing with this extremely tiny package with the color add system to help people who are colorblind. You're trying to do this tiny, inexpensive game and just put it out there, and it'll be something on the counter that people can just pick up as they wish. Very small. Fits in with everything else. I've worked in retail too, and you have that point of purchase item, the pop item, where it's just like an add-on to everything else. And so again, your thing as a publisher, you're trying to fill that space and get this season's hit thing that's going to be on the counter that everyone wants. Sea Salt and Paper really took off when Bombix did it in 2023. I haven't heard quite as much about Pixies. It has been licensed in multiple languages, English and German and Dutch and Japanese, Czech, not sure what else. There's a whole bunch out there. So it's been successful. It also has really neat art by Sylvain Trabut that was not created for this game. I believe the artist makes these sorts of dioramas constantly, taking pictures of them after sculpting them together from natural elements, and it just works with the name Pixies. Otherwise, this game has nothing to it other than you're getting numbered cards and putting them in a grid. That appeals to me, but that's not necessarily their target market. They want people who also like things that look pretty. So that's what they do.